Your money leaves but never comes back. You work hard, the paycheck arrives, and within days it's gone. Bills, groceries, unexpected expenses, and somehow you're right back where you started, wondering why abundance never stays. Here's the one phrase that changes that forever. I'm going to teach you something that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered almost 100 years ago. Something so powerful that when you apply it for just 7 days, you'll watch money return to you in ways you never expected. Not manifesting, not visualizing, not hoping, commanding money to circulate back to you multiplied. And I'm going to give you the exact sentence in the next 60 seconds. But first, hit that like button right now and comment below where you're watching from. Just your city or country. And subscribe, because every single video on this channel activates your spiritual authority over money. These aren't just teachings. This is reprogramming your relationship with wealth at the deepest level. Here's the sentence. When money leaves your hand, for any reason, you say this: I bless every dollar that flows from me, knowing it returns multiplied. That's it. But saying it wrong, or saying it with doubt, or forgetting the key element makes it powerless. So let me break down exactly why this works and how to do it correctly. Because this is based on what Florence called the law of circulation. Most people treat money like it's leaving forever. You pay a bill and you feel loss. You buy groceries and you feel your account shrinking. You see money going out and your whole body tenses up because you're thinking, that's less for me now. And that feeling, that consciousness of loss, that's what keeps you broke. Because your word, your feeling, your consciousness about money is what creates your financial reality. Florence said it clearly. Consciousness creates circumstances. Your bank account is not random. It's a perfect mirror of how you feel about money. The law of circulation says that money is like water. It must flow. When you dam it up, when you hold it in fear, when you watch it leave with resentment, you stop the flow. But when you bless it as it leaves, when you send it out with joy and expectation, you open the channel for it to return. Not the same money, not from the same source, but money multiplied from expected and unexpected sources. Let me tell you about Maria. Maria came to one of Florence's teachings with 14 cents in her purse. 14 cents. Bills piling up on her kitchen table. Eviction notice. No job. No help. She told Florence, "Money hates me. Every time I get any, it runs away." Florence taught her this one practice: bless it as it leaves. Maria didn't believe it would work, but she was desperate enough to try. 3 days later, Maria had to spend 10 of her 14 cents on bread. As she handed the coins to the cashier, she whispered, "I bless this money. I bless every cent that flows from me, knowing it returns multiplied." Her hands were shaking. She felt ridiculous, but she did it. That same afternoon, she checked her mailbox and found a letter. A tax refund from 2 years ago that she'd forgotten about. $4,000. From 14 cents and a blessing to $4,000 in one day. Now you might be thinking that's just coincidence. That's what your logical mind wants to tell you because it's been trained to believe that words have no power. But Florence taught that your word is your wand, the instrument you wave over your life to create what you experience. When you bless money as it leaves, you're not begging, you're not hoping, you're commanding the universe to return it multiplied. You're activating a spiritual law that's as reliable as gravity. Here's how to do this correctly, and this is critical. When money is about to leave your hand, whether it's paying rent, buying coffee, sending a payment online, you pause for 2 seconds, just 2 seconds, and you say out loud or in your mind, "I bless every dollar that flows from me, knowing it returns multiplied." You don't say it with desperation. You don't say it begging. You say it with authority, with knowing, like you're instructing the money on what to do next. Let's practice this right now together. Think about the last payment you made. Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it was this morning. Rent, groceries, gas, whatever it was. Close your eyes for a moment and see yourself making that payment again. But this time, as the money leaves your account or your hand, you say with me, "I bless every dollar that flows from me, knowing it returns multiplied." Feel the difference. Feel how instead of gripping and losing, you're releasing and commanding. This is not just about bills. This is about every single interaction with money. When you tip a server, bless it. When you pay for parking, bless it. When you invest, when you give, when you pay taxes, bless it. Because every single time money moves through your hands, you're either programming lack or programming abundance. You're either saying money leaves me forever, or you're saying money flows through me and returns multiplied. Now let me tell you about Jennifer. Because her story is going to show you what happens when you have money, but you're terrified to let it circulate. Jennifer had $3,000 in her savings account. Not a fortune, but not broke either. The problem was, she hadn't touched that money in 8 months. She was living paycheck to paycheck, struggling, stressed, but refusing to touch her savings because she thought, if I spend this, I'll have nothing. That $3,000 sat there like a dam blocking the river. She came across Florence's teaching about circulation, and it terrified her. Bless money as it leaves? But I don't want it to leave. I need to keep what I have. But something in her knew she was stuck, so she made a decision. She took $500 from her savings and paid off a debt she'd been avoiding. And as she made that payment, hands trembling, she said, I bless every dollar that flows from me, knowing it returns multiplied. Within 1 week, Jennifer's boss called her into the office. She thought she was getting fired. Instead, he offered her a project she'd never been considered for before. Extra work, but an extra $1,200. 1 week, she spent $500, blessed it, and received $1,200. But here's what's even more powerful. Over the next 30 days, Jennifer kept practicing this. Every transaction. Coffee, $4, blessed. Groceries, $87, blessed. Gas, $42, blessed. And money started appearing. A client she'd worked with a year ago randomly sent her $300 as a thank you. Her tax return came early. A rebate check she'd forgotten about. In 60 days, her $3,000 in savings became $9,000. What changed? Not her job, not her skills, her consciousness. She stopped hoarding in fear and started circulating in faith. And the universe, God, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it, responded to her new instructions. Because that's what blessing is. It's an instruction. It's a command. You're telling money, you don't end here, you multiply and return. Let's go deeper into why this works, because understanding the principle makes your practice powerful. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that we live in a universe of infinite supply. There is no lack in divine substance. There is no shortage in God. The only shortage is in human consciousness. When you look at your bank account and feel fear, you're operating from lack consciousness. When you pay a bill and feel resentment, you're operating from poverty consciousness, and that consciousness creates more of the same. But when you bless money as it leaves, you're shifting into abundance consciousness. You're saying, I have so much that I can release this joyfully, knowing more is coming. You're acting like a wealthy person. And here's the secret Florence knew. You don't become wealthy and then act wealthy. You act wealthy in consciousness first, and then circumstances match that consciousness. The invisible creates the visible. Your state of mind about money creates your bank account, not the other way around. Think about wealthy people you know or have observed. They spend money differently. Not recklessly, but without fear. They pay for dinner and they don't check their account 3 times afterward. They invest and they don't lose sleep. Why? Because their consciousness is, there's always more. And so there is. It's not that they have more so they feel abundant. They feel abundant so they have more. Consciousness first, circumstances second. Always. Now here's where most people mess this up. They try to bless money, but they don't really believe it's coming back. They say the words, but their stomach is tight with fear. They speak the blessing, but they're mentally calculating how this payment just ruined their budget. And that split consciousness cancels out the blessing. Florence was very clear about this. You cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot speak abundance and feel lack at the same time and expect the abundance to manifest. So when you bless your money, you must feel it, even if you have to fake it at first. Even if your logical mind is screaming that you can't afford this, you override that voice and you bless with authority, with peace, with expectation. You say, I bless every dollar that flows from me, knowing it returns multiplied, and you mean every single word. You're not wishing, you're not hoping, you're decreeing, you're commanding. That's your spiritual authority, and most people have never used it in their entire lives. Let me give you a framework so you know exactly how to apply this every single day starting today. First thing in the morning, before you even check your bank account, you say this. Today money flows to me and through me, multiplied and blessed. You set the intention for circulation, not holding, not hoarding. Circulation, flow. Then, every single time you make a transaction during the day, no matter how small, you bless it. Buying coffee, bless it. Paying for gas, bless it. Sending a bill payment online, bless it. 2 seconds. That's all it takes. Here's what you do for bills specifically, because bills are where people have the most resistance. When you sit down to pay bills, instead of dreading it, you shift your mind. You say, I'm so grateful I have the money to pay this. This bill represents a service I received. Electricity that powered my home. Water that I used. Rent for shelter. I bless this payment and I command it to return to me multiplied through unexpected and expected channels. Then you make the payment and you release it with joy, not with resentment. With joy. Now what about when you literally don't have enough to pay something? What about when your account is overdrawn or you're short on rent? This is where the practice becomes even more critical. You bless what you do have. If you have $10 and you need $100, you bless that $10. You say, I bless these $10. I call forth the remaining 90 from the infinite supply that is my true source. Money flows to me now in perfect ways under grace. And then you take action where action is needed, but you don't panic. Panic is lack consciousness, and it blocks the flow. Let me tell you about David, because his story shows what happens when you apply this in the middle of disaster. David lost his job. He had $800 in his account and $4,000 in bills due within 2 weeks. He was terrified. He found Florence's teaching and he thought, this is insane. I can't bless money leaving when I barely have any. But he was desperate. So he started. He paid his phone bill, $95, and he blessed it. He bought groceries, $60, and he blessed it. Every single expense he blessed. 4 days into this practice, his neighbor knocked on his door. The neighbor was moving across the country suddenly and needed someone to buy his furniture. Couch, table, chairs, bed frame. Offered it all to David for $300 but said, actually, I just need it gone. Can you help me move it, and you can have it free? David helped him move it, took the furniture, then sold it online for $1,200. 1 week later, a company he'd interviewed with months ago called Position opened up. Salary higher than his previous job. David went from $800 in panic to employed with over $2,000 in his account in 14 days. Coincidence? No. Circulation. He blessed what left, and the universe found ways to return it multiplied. Because here's what Florence understood that most people don't. God, the universe, infinite intelligence. It has a million ways to get money to you that you cannot see from where you are right now. Your job is not to figure out how. Your job is not to stress about the source. Your job is to bless what you have, release it in faith, and stay open to receive from any direction. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, but I have real bills. I have rent due. I have debt collectors calling. I can't just bless money and hope it comes back. I need that money to stay so I can survive. And I understand that fear because I've been there. But here's what you need to understand. That fear is exactly what's keeping you in that situation. Fear of money leaving is what blocks money from arriving. You're holding so tight that nothing new can come in. Blessing money is not about being irresponsible. You're not going to spend your rent money on lottery tickets and just bless it. That's not what this is. This is about shifting your consciousness around the money you're already spending, the bills you're already paying, the expenses you already have. Instead of paying them with resentment, with fear, with the feeling of loss, you pay them with blessing, with authority, with the knowing that this money is circulating and must return. That shift in consciousness is what changes everything. Another objection I hear, what if I bless it and nothing comes back? What if I do this for 7 days and I'm still broke? First of all, if you're doing it with that energy, with that doubt, you're not really blessing, you're testing. And the universe doesn't respond to tests. It responds to faith. But second, let me ask you this. What have you been doing up until now? Has worrying about money brought you more money? Has resenting your bills made them go away? Has holding on to every dollar in fear created abundance? No. So what do you have to lose by trying something different? Here's what I want you to understand. This is not magic. This is spiritual law. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that there are laws in the spiritual realm just as reliable as the laws in the physical realm. Gravity is a law. You don't have to believe in it for it to work. You drop something, it falls. The law of circulation